Jim Goodwin by name, but not exactly Jim Goodwin by nature. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. We're here to talk about who could potentially replace Jim Goodwin as the Aberdeen manager. And I know what you're thinking. Jim Goodwin hasn't been sacked yet. And that is very, very true. But with the current form he is on, you've got to imagine, A, it will not be long, and B, the bookmakers do not care. They have assembled a list of potential candidates that they think are more likely to be Aberdeen manager than Jim Goodwin. They've got a list at the moment. They have 7 people on the list, and we're going to quickly talk about who could be the next Aberdeen manager and who is favourite to be the next Aberdeen manager. But first of all, I want to talk a little bit about Jim Goodwin. So his record at the moment at Aberdeen, he's currently played 41 games, got 17 wins, 7 draws and 17 losses. So he has the same amount of wins as losses, and overall he's coming in at 41.46% win rate. I'm a little bit split on Jim Goodwin, I am. I mean, at times I think this season he has been a little bit unlucky. However, I don't think winning the same amount of games as you lose with Aberdeen is good enough. People will say that he was backed a lot. He's had a lot of money to spend. But when you think about it, have they really had that much money to spend when they sold a lot of their key players? So yeah, I am divided. I get that Aberdeen have invested money into the team, but at the same time, in the last couple of transfer windows, they have lost key players, and I mean key players. Just in the last window, they lost both Calvin Ramsey and Lewis Ferguson. It wasn't that long ago they lost Scott McKenna, they lost Sam Cosgrove. They've lost big name players. So yeah, the Aberdeen side has changed a lot over the couple of years. So I'm not necessarily saying that Jim Goodwin's to blame here. I think the decline started at Aberdeen even when Derek McInnes was still in charge. Let's be honest, there was a decline when Derek McInnes was the manager. Declan Glass took over. That never really worked out, and now Jim Goodwin has took over, and I don't think that is working out either. Now, I mean, Jim Goodwin, to his credit, he came so close to getting a draw against Celtic. He came so close to getting a win against Rangers. And you never know. If those results go his way, we could be talking about a totally different story here. We could be talking about an Aberdeen side that are chasing down Hearts for third. We could be talking about an Aberdeen side that have came off against some really good results against the Old Firm. But unfortunately for him, it didn't pan out that way. He ended up losing both games. He went on a 4-game losing streak in the league. And lately, he is not only is he coming off a Scottish Cup semi-final defeat to Rangers, but he's coming off a 5-0 annihilation against Hearts. So things aren't good for Jim Goodwin, and here are the 7 candidates that could perhaps replace Jim Goodwin. I'm going to go through them from least favourite to favourite. So least favourite, the guy less likely to get the job, and we'll go from him all the way to the top, the guy most likely to get the job. So coming in at number 7 place, according to the bookmakers, this is Coral prices, by the way. Please gamble responsibly. But yeah, coming in at 7th place, we've got Mark Warburton at 12-1. Then we have Duncan Ferguson at 10-1. Then we have Darren Fletcher, 8-1. Now we're beginning to get into more realistic names, in my opinion. I could definitely see any of these top 4 managing at Aberdeen within the next few months. So Davy Martindale, 6-1. Neil Lennon, 4-1. Jack Ross, 7-2. And Paul Lambert is the 2-1 favourite. First of all, I'm not going to count Warburton or Ferguson or Fletcher, because I just don't think those 3 will get the job, so I'm just not going to waste any time talking about them. Let's talk about Davy Martindale though. Tremendous job at Livingston. He's done a tremendous job, and I understand. I remember when the Rangers job was available and his name got brought up, and Rangers fans were complaining, and they were like, please God no, do not let this guy anywhere near Rangers. Look, I can understand it. As good as a job as Davy Martindale has done, I do think him leaving Livy to go to Rangers is a big step up, and to be honest, it's probably too much of a step up. But I think Aberdeen would be the perfect step for Davy Martindale. I mean, he has done so well at Livy, and I think Aberdeen is a big step up on Livingston. Don't get me wrong. It's a massive step, but it's not exactly going for Levy to Rangers. I think Davy Martindale could excel at Aberdeen. He'd be given one of the bigger clubs in Scotland. He'd be given a lot more money to spend in terms of transfer budgets, in terms of wages, and he's already, created like sort of a mini fortress with Livingston, especially at home. I'm sure he could do the same at Pittodrie. I'm sure he could turn Pittodrie into a place where teams hate going. And I think Davy Martindale could turn Aberdeen around. Now, I know a lot of people aren't necessarily excited about the style that Davy Martindale plays. I don't think Davy Martindale would be the first choice for most Aberdeen fans, but what I would say is I think Davy Martindale could definitely turn things around for Aberdeen, and I could see Davy Martindale bringing success back to the club. And the last time they had success was probably, during the Derek McKinn days, but even then, the last couple of years, not so much. So yeah, it's been a while since Aberdeen were, semi-successful, since they were competing, for the top couple of places, since they were competing in, regular cup finals, and I think Davy Martindale would have a good chance of bringing that back. Neil Lennon 4-1. I can see why Neil Lennon's there. He's obviously had chances at Celtic and Hibs, but I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like he's had his chance. Like I said, he's had chances. I feel like he's been there, he's done that. I don't think he's been overly bad. I know he gets a lot of blame for Celtic failing to get 10 in a row, but I think there's more to blame for that than Neil Lennon. I don't think it's fair to blame all of that on Neil Lennon. I think he'd done a good job at that Cyprus club, and I thought they sacked him prematurely. I thought it was harsh. So, I have nothing against Neil Lennon, but the thing what I would say is I think Neil Lennon's had his opportunity, whereas Davy Martindale hasn't. So if anything, I would probably give it to Davy Martindale, just due to the pure fact that Martindale, hasn't had a chance at a club the size of Aberdeen, whereas we've seen Neil Lennon fail, or at least get sacked, from clubs the same size as Aberdeen, if not bigger. Jack Ross, another guy who I think is decent, but he's been sacked from Hibs and Dundee United, in the past, not 12 months, but 18 months. Does he really deserve to walk into the Aberdeen job? I think Jack Ross is a decent manager, but I think he needs to build his career back up. I don't think he deserves to walk into the Aberdeen job after getting sacked from Dundee United. Then, of course, you do have Paul Lambert, who is a good option. Could definitely do a job at Aberdeen. Could be the new Aberdeen manager, but for me, out of that shortlist, I'd like to see Davy Martindale get it. I think the success that he has brought to Livingston has earned him a chance at a bigger club. But the one thing I would hate is, I would hate to see Davy Martindale, leave Livingston and take a job at Aberdeen just to fail and then get sacked and have the last, 3 or 4 years of his work just be discredited, just have it dissolve and mean absolutely nothing. So that's the risk you take in football. Look, if you want to move on to bigger clubs, if you want to move on to better clubs, if you want to enhance and improve your career, you need to take chances, or else you'll always be a big fish in a small pond. Anyway, guys, that's it for Fog Football. Let me know down below in the comments, who do you think should be the new Aberdeen manager? Who do you think is favourite to get the job? Or if you think Jim Goodwin deserves more time, if you think Jim Goodwin is the right man for the job, if you think Jim Goodwin is the man to bring success back to Aberdeen, let us know down below in the comments. But until next time, be Fog Football. We'll catch you in the next video. Like, subscribe, comment. I'll see you later, and peace.